everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self, and today we are talking about how to stop self-sabotaging. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I would love to hear from you, build a relationship online, become friends. Answer any of your questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, anything like that, or just say hey, hi, and hello. You're also welcome to email me at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. All of that information is available for you in the show notes below. The other really exciting thing I have to announce is that if you love the podcast and you would love to be part of a community where we can talk about the episodes, I can go live in the group and we can have discussions. We can all share, like if we're going through something and we'd really love other people's input. I did create a private Facebook community group, which there is a link in the show notes below for you to join so that we can all talk together and, just become a community and encourage each other. So I encourage you to join that. I might also start doing like giveaways and stuff soon. And I just really want to create a community around everyone that wants to better themselves, but also help others do the same. So just take a look at that. But let's go ahead and jump into today's episode, which again is how to stop self-sabotaging. So I get in my own way all of the time, all of the time. Oh, I laugh because I know it's true, right? I get in my way all the time because I fear that things will turn out badly, right? If I don't jump in front of the train that is my life that is going down the road. And I'm just no, we need to throw a wrench in this plan. And I don't like emotional pain. That's part of the reason. The fear, the stress, the letdown, the not knowing if it's going to turn out as I hoped. It's all a lot. And I know that no one likes emotional pain. I know I'm not alone in that. It's just that is my, admission to you. I just don't enjoy it. It can be really overwhelming, especially when you've had a lot of it. And so you create this fear of it. And I'm sure you felt the same at some point because no one wants to endure the emotional pain that comes from something not working out, not going the way we wanted, something that ends up letting us down. These are not fun events in the slightest. But I also know that it's a part of life. Genuinely, I know that, and it's important to remind ourselves of this because if we don't and we are not surrounded by people in our life that are speaking this into our lives, which I am not, I have to do it, and I might have one other person that is actively doing that, that I have to be the one that does it, right? Because for me, maybe this is true for many of you, I don't have a lot of physical people in my life that are, speaking positively into my life. It's not like I have a bunch of negative people. It's just I don't have a lot of people right now. So a lot of any motivation or encouragement that I go to seek is online. So maybe that's with you too. So it's I will get that from the people online, but still I have to do my due diligence of letting myself know that, these experiences are a part of life, a very important part of life, because we really need to understand that rejection is a normal thing. It's not a fun thing, but it's a normal thing. And if it's not a normal thing in your life, you're probably not trying hard enough. And I know that can sound really harsh, and you're like, Sabrina, how could you say that to me? I mean it with love and care. You probably just aren't trying hard enough if you are able to, not have to interact with any rejection at all in your life. Along with failures and mistakes, success also comes with experiences of rejection too. It's just how it works. And I know that it can be so super brutal to endure rejection, but it's important that we do so. So you're either hiding in your comfort zone or basically doing nothing big in your life if you continue to avoid any rejection. So I am going to talk about rejection really, really soon. So if you want to learn more about how to overcome rejection, hit me up on Instagram or via email, or join the Facebook group and talk about it and remind me and really put your interest on that, and I will do it sooner than later. So you're either avoiding it, you're trying your best to avoid it. You could also be self-sabotaging. And sabotaging yourself is the reason we are here today, what I really want to talk about. And it's something that I am very versed in. I talk about this during just about every single counseling session, and somehow it never gets old. It is a constant conversation of like, well, why are we doing this? Why do you think you're doing it? Give me examples of how you are doing it. Even though you were conscious of it, you were still doing it. Let's figure out what's in your way. These kind of things. And the kicker for me is that I know I'm sabotaging myself and still continue to do it because of the mindsets I choose to hold on to. I know it. Isn't it funny when you actually know something? You're like, I know, free and clear, this is the reason I'm doing myself a disservice, yet we'd still do it. But I don't want that for you, okay? I don't. I am here to help you become your best self. I don't want that for you. I want you to be free of that self-made bondage of self-sabotage. So if you aren't quite aware of what would define self-sabotaging is when you decide to get in your own way of good things happening in your life. Like undermining your own good intentions. You're self-sabotaging when you also like create problems in your daily life. And those problems that you create generally get in the way of your goals. And this can be both conscious, which is not asking for help from someone you need it from, like that you are not doing something that you need to be doing, and subconscious, which would be like to fail to meet a deadline, not because it was too much work, but because you didn't want to possibly fail at it. So it was just like this ingrained habit of like, no, I'm just not going to meet this deadline. And it looks like you didn't have enough time, but you purposely did not create enough time. And, the subconscious one is the one that I worry about the most. And before we get into the how and when of self-sabotage, let me just note that how this impacts you more, it impacts more than just you, okay? So a lot of times when we think of things that are like self-care, self-sabotage, whatever it is, it self-affirmation, like it's just self-awareness. Like we think of like it's just us, right? You're like, oh, it's just affecting us, so I don't really have to work on this if I don't want to right now. It's totally fine. But it actually does affect more than just you. It impacts your relationships, your job, and your quality of life, which you are throwing away. You're just literally throwing it out the window because you just think that you don't need to work on this when it could really benefit you to actually take that time, because when we self-sabotage, it can affect our relationships because we think that something is happening and it's not, and you could end up, you think you're only hurting yourself by ending the relationship or slowly backing away when you're not realizing the emotions of the other person. You could really affect your job because obviously you feel one way about getting your work done than someone else, that your boss might think of how you should be doing it, or the fact that you should be doing it better or not procrastinating or this, that, and the other. So just want you to understand that it impacts more than just you. So you might want to keep that in mind next time you decide to engage in these behaviors that we're going to talk about. But how do we know we are self-sabotaging? This is the question I'm sure many of us have. You're like, okay, great. I sounds like this is me, but how would I know? Some of the signs of self-sabotaging can be tough to see with the learned behaviors we have had going on for some time. Just so you know, like those things are like those subconscious behaviors that just naturally happen now because we were so used to doing it for so long. But here are some examples of behaviors that you would be engaging in self-sabotage. Procrastination. This is my favorite one because it's the one that I do the most. Like we're best friends, we're besties, me and procrastination. And you want whatever you're putting off to be perfect, yes, and are worried it won't turn out as well as you want, yes. So you want to just put it off until the last minute, and you don't want to deal with the stress that comes along with actually doing the thing. So you put it off until later, but doing things at the last minute causes like so many emotional reactions, but you already knew that it would and you did it anyway. You just put it off because you're like, I don't want to deal with the pressure of having to like write the paper or do the research or get ready for the presentation or whatever, or do the things to be the best at whatever's. And you put it off till the end because you're like, I don't want to even go through the work of possibly failing on this thing and putting in so much work, and it all feels like it's for nothing. So if you engage in procrastination, definitely self-sabotaging behavior. The next one is you put yourself down. I definitely engage in this. Somebody actually has called me out on this many times. So you don't believe in yourself, even if you're experiencing some success. You're just like, no, you write it off as it's due to something else. Absolutely could not be you. That's how you feel. And you continue to remind yourself of that fact that you don't believe in yourself. So by doing so, you are confirming what you believe is true. You live in this crazy loop of putting yourself down and making it harder and harder and harder for you to believe yourself and to have confidence that you're able to do whatever you put your mind to. The next one is self-medicate. So instead of dealing with whatever emotions you're having, you decide to like hurt yourself. So you can do that like physically, it's like doing self-harm, drink your sorrows away with alcohol, do drugs, eat emotionally. There are many other ones, but you just engage in the self-medication because the self-medication will cause problems in your life and with like your goals that you're going after, but you do it anyway because it's much easier than having to actually face those fears and the things that you need to overcome in your life, right? So you're like, no, we're just gonna dull the pain with these things. Even if it ruins some things, it's fine. This is just better and feels easier than having to deal with any other emotions that come up. Another one is making excuses for why you can't do something. Basically, you're just creating your own roadblocks by being like, no, I can't do this because of this, and this. And the last one is staying in your comfort zone. So literally not trying to do anything that is beyond you, that stretch you, that would push you to do better and become a better person. No, you'd rather just like sit where you are and just continue to live in that spot. And, more than knowing whether we are getting in our own way or not is to ask how this becomes an issue. So I gave you like a quick list of ways for you to tell whether you are self-sabotaging or not. And also if you feel like it's a pretty short list. And so there is bigger lists that you can just look up online. And I encourage you to do so if you feel like you did not align with any of the examples that I shared, for being able to point out whether you are dealing with self-sabotage or not. So I encourage you to go to Google, look it up. It would just be like self-sabotaging behaviors. It'll give you so many lists, and then you can work off of that to determine whether you are or not. But it is helpful to speak about like how this has become an issue. So how are we becoming our biggest roadblocks? Here are some of the reasons why. If you've had terrible relationships in the past, you might ruin the good ones that come along because you don't want to get hurt again. So you're used to being treated like crap. You're used to getting hurt. And so when a good one comes along and things just seem like they are going way too well, you're like, okay, well, let me just ruin it now so that I can ruin it on my own accord, under my own control. I can just make the decision right now that I'm going to walk away, or that I'm going to do something else. Like if you were to be engage in infidelity, or if you were to do something else that just like, breaks the relationship up, and you're like, well, at least I saved myself some emotional pain, because you're kind of like, wow, things are going way too well. When is the other shoe going to drop? Believe me, I have that idea of like, when is the other shoe going to drop? But we have to continue to be like, oh, no, that's not the mindset. We'll get to that. We'll get to the tips at the end. But it's so hard because you're so used to something happening in a certain way. Like for me, this would be like in my family right now. So really like my husband's family. I grew up in like very like dysfunctional family. And so it's really hard for me to believe that families are good things, are things that are meant to be encouraging and supportive and loving, because I did not really have that. And so even though I've been a part of my husband's family for like 16 years now, it's still really hard for me to believe that, because I'm just like, well, sometimes you guys are all mad at each other, and what's even the point and all this stuff. And it's just like, it's beyond me, because it's not something that I have experienced at all whatsoever. So that could be a reason. Another is like if you grew up being told you wouldn't amount to much, or constantly being criticized, you might not try as hard as you could because you believed you couldn't, because people said you couldn't. So, if your parents or guardian or people that you spent your time around as a child, they were telling you you're a garbage person, you're not going to amount to anything, then and you continue to believe that, then you're not really going to like go out and be like, I'm going to show you. Like, maybe some people will, which I think it's great that you're going to do that. That's great that that fuel was added to your fire and your desire to like, okay, I'm going to go prove them wrong. But a lot of people don't. They're just like, okay, well, I was told that I cannot, so I'm just not going to strive for that kind of success or glory or even positivity in my life. And so if you feel like you are leaning in that way of things going good, you're like, oh, absolutely not. I can't handle this. I've already been told I can't handle it. We need to shut it down. Another one is you like developed fear of failure. So it's a really big one. You don't want to fail, so you don't do anything. And it sounds like the right equation to have of like, okay, I have a fear. I don't want to fail. Let's just not do anything. That equals nothing. That means we're not going to fail, right? But like if we do nothing, we won't fail. When really, if you do nothing, you will fail, because if you're at least doing something, you will succeed. So it sounds like the right thing to do, but really it gives you the opposite results that you wanted. The need for control is another one. You are in charge of how things go for you, and that matters, even if it's bad, even if you just, burn the place down. You're like, well, at least I did it on my own accord, my own decision, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I don't care to be known for. It's just like, whatever. And then the last one is cognitive dissonance. So this is basically like having uncomfortable mental feeling of having like two conflicting thoughts at the same time. So an example would be you are doing really well at work and you're up for a promotion, but don't go through with like that final thing that you have to do, whether it's like sign a client or like do a presentation or finish a project or whatever it is. You only have to do that one thing, and you know that you can do that one thing. Like you are like, I am capable of doing it, right? But you don't go through with that one thing you needed to do to be promoted because you don't feel worthy of it. So like the two thoughts are like, you don't believe that you're worthy of the promotion, but you want it. And you think that you have the capacity to earn it, right? It's just like those thoughts are like on totally opposite sides. And so again, this is not a conclusive list. You can definitely go online and be like, like how do we self-sabotage, or how do we begin doing that? Where does it stem from? And if you need like more examples of like how you could have like developed it, please go online, Google it, really see if there's something that you align with a little bit more. And that could be really super helpful. So let's get to the point that we all really like. How do we stop ourselves from self-sabotaging, right? How do we stop ourselves from engaging in these self-sabotaging behaviors? Yeah, I have 5 tips on how to stop self-sabotaging. So we'll just go ahead and jump into them right now. The first one is to identify the behaviors that you use to self-sabotage. This is going to require self-awareness, something I talk about all of the dang time. It's really being like aware and in tune with the emotions that you are currently having. So if you are able to be self-aware, then you will be able to identify your behaviors, because you're really like having an open perspective of like, okay, like how am I acting? How am I being? So here are some examples. Is it procrastination, self-medication when things feel too tough, lack of like self-care for yourself because you you would rather not take care of yourself and like burn yourself out, and that would prevent you from being able to achieve your goals and go as far as you need to do amazing things in your life. Is it being a perfectionist, right? You just think that everything needs to be perfect, and so nothing actually gets done. Blaming others for your problems, not creating systems for your life to be easier and more manageable, so you just can't constantly live in chaos, and that's your excuse. Or even choosing complaining over gratitude, and you, again, are not figuring out a way for things to become better. You're just chosen to complain and see the worst and use it as a roadblock. So if you're able to identify the behavior that you use to self-sabotage, whatever you align with, for me, definitely procrastination, definitely being a perfectionist, definitely not creating systems in my life that would help me to, manage my life a little bit easier, then that is definitely going to help you on the road to the next one, which number 2 is ask yourself if this behavior aligns with your goals. So, number 1, you identify your behaviors that are self-sabotaging. Number 2, you ask yourself if these behaviors are aligning with your goals. So for me, I'd be like, okay, is procrastination really aligning with my goal of, updating my website? Like, that's a really big goal for me. It's like continuing to do that. Or is procrastination really aligning with my goal to put out a really cool newsletter every 2 weeks? Probably not. Definitely not. And when you ask yourself these questions, you are required to give yourself a very truthful, honest answer. Because if you don't, then there's no point in doing it, right? You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time, your effort, and it's not going to get you anywhere. So you really have to be honest, okay? And you can do it alone. And there's no reason for you to be dishonest with yourself alone. There just isn't. So I really implore you to take the time to come up with even a short list. I would say like 3. 3 is your minimum of behaviors. Maybe it's 2. I don't know, but I'm going to think it's 3, right? You can find really conclusive, like long lists online for you to identify. I would say like 2 or 3, okay? And then you ask yourself if these behaviors align with your goals. And for me, I'm going to say no to every single one. Yeah, no. Procrastination? No. Being a perfectionist? No. Not creating systems for my life to be more easy and manageable? Absolutely not. Like, I need all of the opposite of those things for me to achieve my goals and to feel good about it and not feel rushed and overwhelmed and then have to go back and fix stuff because I did it in such a rush and I didn't plan it out as well as I should have. So ask yourself if these behaviors actually align with your goals, and that'll kind of trigger you to be like, no, it isn't. Why am I doing this? I need to really fix the mindset that I have around like achieving these goals and stop getting in my way so much. Number 3, get more comfortable with failure and rejection. Failure, I talk about it all the time, probably every other episode, I think on average nowadays, is failure and mistakes are like some of the biggest learning lessons that you could ever have, because it allows you to figure out what you did wrong and what needs to change, or maybe you need to go in a different direction, or what needs to happen, and you're able to glean learning lessons from those experiences and move forward. So as long as you don't like obsess over what happened, you just like, okay, let me take whatever lessons I can, and you continue to move forward. You use it as like, use it as like more like gasoline to throw on the fire of you achieving that goal and end up doing that thing that you are striving to do and that you've created a plan to do. So you got to get more comfortable with failure and rejection. Again, I am going to do an episode on rejection really soon. Please reach out to me if you think I should. If you think that would be super important, if there's any key points in there that you want me to go over, that would be really helpful for me. But I think that talking about how to overcome rejection is you're not really going to necessarily overcome it. You're just going to learn how to move through it, persevere through it, because it's a part of life. We will get rejected. And people that act like they aren't, they're not doing big things, or they're avoiding it, or they are just not filled. They are just surrounded with people that just say yes to them all the time. So they actually don't know what it is to really have to go through that in life. And sometimes, at some point in their life, they will. But I feel like rejection makes you stronger. Failure and mistakes make you stronger, make you understand like what needs to change and what is actually rocking and working really well. And it helps you to, create just create this steely mindset of like, okay, even though they said no, that doesn't mean it has to be no. It can be a yes. It just needs to be a yes in a different way, or from someone else, or with more work, or with this, that, and the other. It should really create an inner fire in you even more, not like knock you down and scare you from trying again. But I know it's overwhelming. It's scary for me too, so I totally get it. Okay, so number 4, almost done. We have 5. So number 4, identify and embrace your strengths. I know this sounds really cheesy, but it's going to be one of the best ways for you to, find the things that you're good at, you like about yourself, and really build that confidence and reflect on, things that worked out in the past and the positive emotions you felt from those experiences, right? You want to take what happened before that really worked out and you're like, wow, I felt good about that. That really made me feel like I'm able to do this and I'm able to take those skills and move on and do this thing, which is why I created a goal to accomplish this thing and move forward. But then you're not doing it. So you have to be like, okay, well, I am actually really good at this. I don't know why I continue to tell myself I'm not. I don't know why I'm continually afraid to continue to get better at this thing so I can move to the next level. So really taking the time to identify and embrace those strengths. It's important to know what your weaknesses are too so that you can get help and support in those areas. But I feel like self-sabotage is more about needing to build confidence so that you are able to move forward and not get in your own way. So really focusing on the strengths and the positive feelings that you felt in the past from going through those experiences where you were winning, where you're succeeding, where things were working out, can really be remind you oh, okay, there were times where this felt really good and happy and joyful and things worked out, and that could happen again for sure if I just give it a chance and give it some time. Number 5, and the last one, which is a very, I would say probably cliche answer on this show. If you are not new here, I will give you a couple seconds to guess what you would think number 5 is. Okay, it is get help. Get help from a coach, a mentor, and or a counselor. So with self-sabotage, as I told you at the top of the show, I talk to my counselor about it every other week. Probably every week actually at this time. And it's important to me because I know that I'm doing it and I need help, finding my way out of continually living in the mindset that it's okay or that I'll figure it out at some point. No, I just need to start figuring it out now. I need to start doing the work now because all I'm doing is continually pushing back the deadlines and the timelines for all the goals that I have that I want to achieve. So it's important for me to figure it out now. And so that's why it's important to get help when you can. So again, from a coach, mentor, and or a counselor, you can have all of those. You can have one of those, a couple of those. It doesn't matter. Whatever you feel most comfortable with, someone that can really help you and come alongside you to help you figure things out, understand things better, encourage you, and help you dive deeper into your own emotions and become more self-aware so that you're able to do it more and more on your own. So I think that getting help should never be something that we feel shameful for. Actually, we should feel so good about it because we have decided to be more efficient with our time in our life by enlisting help to help us as opposed to wasting time trying to figure it out on our own, which is, I don't think it's the best way to do it. So just something to consider. But those are all 5 of the tips I have for how to stop self-sabotaging. I hope that they have been super helpful for you today. And I hope it really helps you get on that journey of to stop self-sabotaging. And even I am following these tips because I still fall into that as I shared. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again with me, Sabrina. If you enjoyed this show, I encourage you to share it with someone that you feel like would really like it. If you really like the show and you've liked other shows, I encourage you to go ahead and give me a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and anywhere else that does ratings. Those are the only places I am aware that do ratings for podcasts. So I'd appreciate that too. But thank you so much for listening, downloading, sharing the show. Again, check the show notes for where to find me on Instagram, for how to send me an email, and how to sign up for this the private Real Positive Girl community group where we can talk and chat and get together and just help each other become our best selves. But until next time. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.